Welcome. Today, EDS Division is pleased to have Roger Gonzalez to give a talk on engineering education and leadership and engineers' influence beyond technology. Roger is the inaugural chair and professor at the Department of Engineering, Education, and Leadership at the University of Texas, El Paso, where he's also the program director of a unique BS in Engineering Leadership degree. Roger is also the CEO and founder of LIMS International, a nonprofit entity whose mission is to lead the field in innovative product development and design of ultra-low prosthetic solutions for the poorest of the poor in the developing world. A registered PE in the state of Texas, Roger previously progressed through the ranks and into administration at LeTourneau University and has experience as a design engineer at General Electric. He received a BS in Mechanical Engineering from UTEP, his PhD in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Texas, Austin, where he also received an MS in Biomedical Engineering. So please welcome Roger.
So thank you, Yoel. I like to walk around, so that's why I had to remove the mic. I want to tell you real quick the outline. I want to talk a little bit about my background, basically who am I. A little bit because it kind of reflects a little bit about where I brought my philosophy for undergraduate engineering education. And you know, we don't live in a vacuum. We develop our thoughts and processes by what we experience. So much like Jean Valjean, right, in Les Miserables, you're going to find out a little bit about who am I and how I went from prisoner 64701 to Jean Valjean. I didn't get that number right at all. We'll talk a little bit about my academic research interests and passions. Then we'll start getting into details of engineering education and leadership, and then look at the issues of sharing some final thoughts. So my career path, I actually have a very sketchy high school record. I was actually graduated with a 1.6 GPA out of high school. Was expelled a couple of times for various issues. So there was no school in the country that would take me except for UTEP, which has an open enrollment policy, and even with them I went in as a probationary basis. You know, I breathed, so I got in. So I thought I wanted to come to the School of Mines. I came here, but I would have never gotten in. So UTEP gave me a chance to start my undergraduate education there. And it was a big process because it took me from this kid in high school, and I graduated #1 in my class in engineering 5 years later. So it really transformed my life to go to UTEP. From there, I joined General Electric in their manufacturing management program. It's a corporate program. They select 20 students nationwide to go into corporate management. I was one of those 20, and I worked with Jack Welch throughout the corporate program in Schenectady. We got to meet with Jack every 6 months, which was pretty cool. And we were assigned a different location every 6 months throughout the United States. So I got used to moving quite a bit. I learned that I didn't know anything about management processes, even though I had an engineering degree. I realized that much of what I learned didn't really work at General Electric. 4 years later, I realized that I really wanted to be back on a campus again. I really loved the campus environment. And so I realized, what do I need to do to be back in a campus environment? I need to get a PhD. So I got my PhD not for the sake of doing research, not for the sake of getting a PhD, just because I wanted to be back on a college campus again. So I went to UT Austin. It was between that and Stanford, and because my wife hadn't finished her undergrad, it was cheaper to go to Texas than it was to go to Stanford. So we went to Texas, and so I got my master's and PhD in Austin. Once I finished my PhD, I realized that I knew absolutely nothing. And I realized because I was doing biomedical engineering that I wanted to grasp the aspects related to medicine better. So I went to Northwestern Medical School and the Rehab Institute of Chicago and did a postdoc and became an NIH fellow so I could, in neuromuscular control, so I could understand how my training in biomedical engineering applied broader to the fields of medicine. So I did that for a few years. And my mentor at that point moved to Stanford, Scott Delp, and he says, do you want to come with me or do you want to take an academic position? And I figured, well, what the heck, I will apply for jobs, and if I don't get it, I'll go to Stanford and finish my third year of my postdoc at Stanford. Turns out I got a job at a small teaching school in East Texas called Laterno University. Small, like 1,200 students, primarily engineering. They do aviation, but primarily engineering. And because all they did was undergraduate teaching, you had to be superb to be there. And so I showed up and I realized I didn't know how to teach. And I got the chance to be mentored by some great men and women there that were excellent teachers. And so I felt like I was taking Teaching 101 from scratch with a very good select students from all over the country. I was there for 16 years, served a lot of administrative positions from Associate Dean of Engineering, Program Director, I was Associate VP of Research, and some other things. And so after 16 years, one day I met in El Paso giving a talk on LIMS. That's where LIMS started while I was at Laterno. And I was asked if I'd be interested in coming back to my alma mater to lead a new program that they called Likely Engineering Leadership because it hadn't been launched at this point. And so I decided to return back full circle 28 years after I left. I showed up back at my alma mater. So I've been at my alma mater for 6 years and leading the engineering leadership program. So that's my journey. Never thought I'd go back to my alma mater, and here I am. It turns out that I'm sitting, currently my office is the former office of the Dean of Engineering, because they created a new wing and the new dean moved to the new wing. And so if you would have told me as a student, one day you will sit in the office of the dean, I would have said, you gotta be kidding. But I just think it's a cruel joke, you know. So fortunately, over the course of my career, I've had the honor of being nominated for a lot of my work, both humanitarian, educational, and my research by being a fellow of ASME at AMBI. And also, actually, I was a runner-up to the Global Humanitarian Engineer Award for my work for LIMS, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But most of them, I'm most proud of the teaching awards, especially the Piper Award, because it's a pretty selective statewide award for all the schools in the state of Texas to get a teaching award. And it comes with a nice little check, plus a regalia of your choice, usually from the school you graduate from, for your PhD. So that was pretty nice. And I've been involved with ASCE and ASME for most of my career. So I have some passions. My real passion is I really feel blessed, right? I've traveled to 37 countries of the world. Most of them on the bottom 1/3 of GDP. I've been in Sierra Leone, been in the Congo, been in Haiti, I've been in Somalia, Bangladesh, and I could go on and on. And I really feel blessed because I could have been born in one of those countries and not had the opportunities that I've had in my career and in my life. And so part of the issue is that I don't take that as mere chance. I feel like because I really didn't have a choice where I was born, and I got a chance to be part of a great country, that I need to give back, both to our country and to people around the world. So for a long time, I've been involved with engineering education, back from the days of Laterno, and redefining what engineering education looks like. And part of that, a lot involves helping teaching engineers how to lead. Because unfortunately, most engineers are so geeky, right, that looking at your shoes in a conversation is a difficult thing to do. And unfortunately, because engineers have a lot to give back to society. But a lot of times we don't really take advantage of those skill sets. If you look at Congress, leaders of community organizations, presidents of universities, and many other leadership positions, engineers are far underrepresented. Why is that? Because we can only do technology? Really? I think that's a shame. My other passion is to give back to Limbs International. And this started about 15 years ago, really driven by innovation and technology. That technology took off, and it moved into how do we then expand this technology in a way that it makes most effective for most people. So even though I came up with a great technology, that wasn't enough to be able to spread this around the world. I really had to become an entrepreneur in how you get that to work with other NGOs, to overcome custom barriers in different countries, to work with other nationalities and organizations. And so to date, we're almost in 50 countries in the world. We distribute products in 50 countries in the world. I have staff stationed all over the world. And so it's a great blessing. And I do this completely for free. I don't draw any salary because I want to pay. I want to be able to when I raise money for Limbs, I want to be able to say, and I guarantee you that not one penny ever goes to me. In fact, I fund my own travel with Limbs so that I don't benefit at all from what we do. So that's been kind of fun to do. And so I've always had to be a place that kind of understands that about me, right? That I like to be pretty entrepreneurial in doing things. So that's been a lot of fun. Never thought I would do this. This wasn't a planned thing. It was just part of what happened in my life. So I'm pretty committed to certain things. I'm committed to being a husband. My wife and I have been married for over 30 years. She really puts up with me and lets me be crazy and take risks at major levels. I've been in Kabul, Afghanistan, where it was not real fun during peaks of war, and my wife agreeing to let me go to Kabul during the peak of war was very generous of her. So my wife has been great for over 30 years to help support a lot of my dreams. So that's been pretty fun. I have 2 kids, committed to being a great dad. My daughter is in cinematography in LA. She is currently filming the next movie of Angelina Jolie that will come out this fall. She is type A driven, like her dad, and now she's fearless, sometimes to a point of I'm concerned about her life at times, but she is a wonderful inspiration to me at 25. My son is in music, and he's just finishing college. I made him finish college so that when he starts as a musician, he can go back and get a graduate degree. But he's been pretty fun. So that's a couple of really good kids. None of them in the sciences. Both of them are pretty entrepreneurial and like to take risks. And I tell them you can take risks because you have the privilege of growing up in a home that allows you to do that. And so they kind of understand that. And lastly, I really enjoy being a faithful friend. I'm not the kind of person that needs 100 people around me. I'm really pretty happy with 4 or 5 good friends. And sharing life and the struggles and the challenges and the joys that brings. 2 years ago, my best friend and I took a trip around the world as we visited 30 limb sites around the world. For a month, we traveled. Every single day, we were on a plane. Well, not quite every day, but maybe 20 out of 30 days, we were on a plane. And we traveled. Literally, we left off the coast of New York and returned back to the coast of LA as we circumvented the globe. And it was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had sharing that with a great friend. So I have some core values. Integrity is a big deal to me. Integrity to me is who you are in public is who you are in private. Transparency is important to me, right? And I expect that of myself, and I expect it of all my friends and my family and those around me. Okay? And I think that part of integrity is what drives me to do things well, be effective, be efficient, and have accountability. We all need to be accountable. None of us is beyond that. So that's part of what drives me at a basic level. So just this, I only have one slide on this. This is not talk about what I've done for research, but I've done a lot of work in biomechanics and neuromuscular control and Joel knows a lot about. I've interacted with Joel on this stuff for several years. And then I've done a lot of aiding the disabled for a developing world. That combined with educational stuff over the last 21 years, I've had about $13 million of funding. And that is not inclusive of gifts I've raised for the department. So been pretty blessed on that. So LIMS is innovative, cost-effective prosthetic technology for a developing world. This is a good freezer process, good friend of mine. He's in Sierra Leone, where they chopped hands off, and we were doing training sessions. Still interact with him via email. And so this slide is a little bit old, but we're almost in 50 countries, and what you see in white is what we call our main training centers, where we invest a lot of money in traveling there and helping people distribute regional technology in the world. So it's been quite an experience. So worldwide, I probably travel, I don't travel internationally as much because I let my staff do it more, but I still probably go somewhere in the world once or twice a year. I circumvent the globe about once every 3 years visiting different sites. I don't go to London and Paris, I go to these wonderful places, other places. So let's talk about engineering education. This data comes from the US Census for 2010. On one half, let's see if I can get my pointer to work. Oh, no. I don't think I have my laser pointer for this. Here. On the left-hand side, they ask you, what was your college major? On the right-hand side, they ask you, what do you do for a living? So this is a snapshot in time of the US Census. How many have seen this graph? Okay. This is available on the web. This basically tells you that less than 50%, slightly less than 50% of engineers are doing STEM work. Actually, only about a third are doing engineering. If you look at this graph for women and minorities, it's even less than this are doing STEM. So my question is this: are our engineering educational programs really teaching you what you need to know? When half the people are not even doing engineering? At this point in time, that doesn't mean that they've never done it. At least in a point in time, half the people are not doing engineering work. That graph is insightful to me. And it's just US Census data. And you can look at other, you can look at other stuff, but you can kind of see the distribution. You can actually go to engineers, right, on the website, right, and it'll tell you that people are doing engineering. 98% of people doing engineering have engineering degrees. But if you go the other way, people who have degrees in engineering, less than half are doing engineering work, or even STEM work. So I'll challenge you with that thought.
How does that compare to other professional degrees, if you recall?
Law is better than engineering. Medicine is very, very strong. So professional degrees. Liberal arts is all over the place. Okay? I think it's interesting data. So let me tell you about our engineering leadership program. So when I moved to UTEP, there was no program. I started with an idea and was charged with a team to be able to develop this. So we developed a multi-institutional collaborative process to build a new engineering discipline from scratch at UTEP. The reason it's multi-institutional is because we're working with Olin College, MIT, and West Point. Each of those three schools brings something important to our collaboration. Olin is how you teach. MIT is about making an influence in the broader perspective when it comes to leadership. And West Point is, if you look at the oldest academic institution in the country that has taught leadership, it is West Point. It is the core of what they do. And for a long time, it was just engineers at West Point. So we work with them, and we've gotten funding from Halliburton, REC Foundation, the Department of Education, and our founder, our Bob and Dad Malone, which are our good friends of the program. Okay, so takes money, takes effort. So that's been kind of this is a slide I use. That, by the way, that's El Paso, that's UTEP in the foreground of the mountains, the Franklin Mountains in the background, and the green stuff are trees, believe it or not, in the middle of the desert. But we're not the only engineering leadership program in the country. We're the only full degree program in the country. These are the programs that are either minors, certificates, sequences, or majors. And that list is growing by probably 1 or 2 a year. The reason I know these is because I know that the directors of all these programs, because once a year, the 18 of us get together somewhere to look at under the hood of every one of those programs. Because we're all learning from each other with an emerging discipline. They were at UTEP about a year ago, where we'll be at UCSD in May. So we're building this thing from scratch. So we're not completely working in a vacuum, although we're the first ones to have a full degree in it. So working as a collaborative team, these are the capabilities of an engineering leader. We would say there's 2 sides. There's the engineer and there's leadership, and the blend is what we call engineering leadership. And I'll just show you a few things. Engineering basically is what you know, right? Technical mastery, right? Creative application, deep technical knowledge, ability to apply engineering design, et cetera, et cetera. That's what engineering is. On the leadership side is how you interact. It is your character. Your core values of teamwork, ability, influence, and inspire, integrity, respect, setting the right example, knowing when to lead, knowing when to follow, et cetera, et cetera. The blend is what we call making it happen. Resourcefulness, systems thinking, seeing the big picture, lateral thinking, making connections, taking responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. So West Point uses 3 words that I think apply to this directly. The first word is competence. Competence is what you know. Are you competent? Are you a competent doctor? Are you a competent engineer? Are you a competent lawyer? Are you good at what you do? Second word is character. In other words, building character into a person with issues regarding the value of integrity in your character and how you interact with others. And the last word is this thing called capacity. That means the ability to handle multiple things at the same time in a stressful situation and still get things done. I'm going to propose that academic institutions only do one of those 3 C's. Competence. And they ignore the other 2. Maybe we delve a little bit into part of the other 2, but it's not really focused. All I care is about what I can put in your head and what you know. And I'm saying that I don't think you can build engineering leaders by just focusing on competence. There has to be an element of character development and building capacity potential in students. And that doesn't come by me learning dynamics or circuits or biomechanics. I'll tell you that when I went to school, I only learned one of those 3 C's. Right? It kind of sounds like parenting, doesn't it? Yeah, I have to teach my kid how to do the laundry or clean the bathroom, but I also have to teach my kids character. I also have to teach my kids the ability to make things happen. And if all we do is competence, I think we have failed. I actually didn't come up with that list. It was a collaboration of all those schools. So that's what we're about. On a philosophical level, character, capacity, and competence. And unfortunately, the Academy is about one of those C's. So let me tell you about our program. Get from 30,000 feet to 20,000 feet. We call it ELEAD, for Engineering Leadership. The core is a multidisciplinary engineering degree. It is an engineering degree, it's a multidisciplinary engineering core. Our students take engineering classes from all the other departments to get their degree. It's required. So we're taking courses out of materials, civil, mechanical, electrical, and biomed. So they're not just taking engineering courses with us. They have to choose engineering technical electives. We call this a sequence. So you're an engineering leadership major, but you have to choose a sequence also. It's either electrical, materials, biomedical, mechanics, general, or computer science. So you have a major, and then you have a technical sequence you have to choose. In addition, you have to choose concentration or minor electives. On the left, those have to be engineering courses because we have to have enough engineering courses to satisfy ABET. The courses on the right don't have to be engineering. Because I'm at a large institution and there's a lot of minors outside of engineering in music and political science and pre-law, pre-med, or whatever, 80% of our students take non-engineering courses because our students are pretty eclectic. So I have students taking music. I have students taking political science, taking English. Why? Because they want to do more than engineering in their career. So what do we do with that? Those are what you actually take for courses. On the top is leadership development, the 3 C's, okay? How I've just described to you. Business acumen, and innovation and entrepreneurship. Those are the 3 things that we actually teach about in the context of those courses. So the top layer of the diamond is a philosophical approach to teaching leadership, business acumen, and entrepreneurship. And the bottom is actually what it looks like on a credit level. So, by the way, this logo was designed by our students, and so we call it the Elite Diamond. So there's an educational process that we really believe that to accomplish these things, it takes time in the oven. So let me give you an analogy. I have a cake I want to make. Take it out of the box, takes 30 minutes at 350 degrees, and I have a cake. But I don't have 30 minutes. I have 5. So because I'm smart, I take 350 and multiply it times 6. Because I'm cutting time in half and down by 6. What's going to happen to my cake if I make the temperature 2,000 degrees for 5 minutes? What will happen to my cake? You will have a burnt exterior and a mushy interior. It will not be a cake. So in other words, some things take time. And you can't accelerate them by just making the oven hotter. Some things take time. It takes 9 months to have a child, not 4 or 3. No matter how many vitamins you take. Some things take time. So, because of that, you have to take the courses, series of 8 courses in series, not in parallel. It's not allowed. It takes you 4 years. So each year has 2 courses. The first year is about self-identity and intrinsic motivation. If we don't get this down, everything is worthless. Our students are driven to satisfy a teacher. Tell me what I need to do, how I need to do it, and I will jump through the hoop. And that will not make a successful engineer. You have to be intrinsically motivated to be successful. Every successful person will tell you that. So I have to start changing them. Second thing, self-identity is a big deal. Remember, our students come from, homes that 1/3 live below the poverty line, right? And 70% no one in the house has a college degree. We have to help them build their identity. We teach engineering courses, but I'll tell you what the real focus is first year: self-identity and intrinsic motivation. I don't care how we do it, as long as we get those 2 things done. And you can do it by teaching design, and you can do it by doing other things, but But what I care about, self-identification and intrinsic motivation. It's what is the core of building leaders. Second year is helping them understand that there's engineering tools and communication. So we're kind of building on this process, right? And this time they're doing modeling and simulation. We help bring in some other things they're learning. This is an engineering core year, and this is where we talk a lot about engineering tools and communication in a pedagogical environment that's studio driven. Year 3 is actually innovation and entrepreneurship, what we call design thinking. We have 2 courses called People to Products and Products to People. I'm going to be very honest, we stole this from Olin. It's what they do to teach innovation and entrepreneurship. It's exactly what we call our courses, P to P. You start with people, you end with people, and products are in the middle. Engineers just think about what? Products. We use IDEO in the business canvas model. We drive everything by business. Everything is driven by the business model. And the 4th year, we do the multidisciplinary client-based projects. It's our capstone course. We've stolen this from Olin using their scope in the Harvey Mudd Clinic. So that's what we do for 4 years. In all that, you notice we don't have a course on leadership. We don't have a course on business. If you look through our curriculum, there's no course that says leadership. There's no course that says business. Why? Because we embed leadership development and business acumen throughout the entire program. You actually can learn 3 things at the same time. It is possible. Cognitively, it's very easy. Learning theory would tell you it's very easy. It's all how you put it together and how you structure it. So that's the reason we don't let them take courses in parallel, because I need time in the oven, and we're constantly building the same things over and over and over again, increasing the level of complexity, because that's how we build capacity in our students. We do the same things over and over again with increased complexity, over and over again. To the time that they're seniors, it's so complex that they can handle business, engineering, team management all at the same time, and they're not intimidated by it. So let me talk to you about one course, specifically the 3rd year, the People to Products and Products to People course, where we do design thinking. I don't teach that course. The nice thing that I've had the chance to build the culture and hire experts. So I have experts that teach this course. A lawyer and an engineer actually teach this course because they learn the legal aspects regarding setting up a company, patent law, and all that stuff. So it's David Novick, he's way back there. He's the old guy with the ball, right? And then our students. And so it's a 2-semester junior level sequence. It's user-centered design, and we use Lean Launchpad and NSF I-Core. So all of our faculty have had to go through NSF I-Core. How many of you have heard of NSF I-Core? Okay, all our faculty have done it at the national level. Okay, all of us have been students at NSF I-Core. We put our students through NSF I-Core over a year. We actually expect exactly the same thing the NSF I-Core expects of our students our junior year. So during the fall, right, students go from interacting with people and developing a product that could provide them with a better future. They go out to people and ask them, what are your needs? Not determining ahead of time, this is what you need, right? Then the students conduct in-person interviews. They have to do 100 in one semester. 100 interviews in one semester. And they have to be in person, not surveys. And I don't give a hoot that they don't have time. How do we build capacity? I don't care that you don't have time. I really don't. It's not my problem, right? It's yours. Get 100 interviews. You've been to I-Corp? That's exactly what they tell you. Right? Remember, isn't that true?
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if you didn't sleep last night. Right? So, obviously, Some get to 90 or 80, we understand. But we put the bar pretty high, right? So we look at market. Market drives everything, right? It drives the design, it goes to explore, it goes to idea, and we go back to market. You build value by bringing it to the market. That's how we teach innovation in entrepreneurship. Second semester, right? They then go to the issue of design, market, and explore, right? So the first semester really is market. The next semester is all those other three, And they build a prototype. They make it a go or no-go decision. Then they're going to go back to their customer and says, here's what we made. Would this satisfy that need? And you know what our failure rate is? 90%. About 75 to 80%. Are we successful? Absolutely. Because they learn that failure is a process in the ideation phase. And so so I don't grade based on success. I grade based on process. Because if I can get your process down, you will be successful, right? It builds capacity in students. It builds character in students. Can you imagine I-Corps for 2 semesters? I remember my first day at I-Corps. We're all sitting here, we're all, Dr. such and such with all these accolades sitting in the room. The guys, and we all have our laptops open. He goes, first of all, only half of you here were on time, and shut your damn laptops. This is not a time for you guys to keep up with your email. You are here to listen and pay attention and learn. So don't even bring your laptops tomorrow. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm back in school again. Anyway, so part of the issue is that we need to take things seriously, right? So that culture is very much part of our program, right? We have a family culture, but we have a high expectation culture, right? Culture drives everything, right? And so the students tell each other, when you go to that class, there's no bullshitting, man. You show up late, you're going to get hauled on the carpet. No one is late to the class. They just don't show up, right? Because you don't dare walk in late, right? So it's a culture, right? It comes to a point now the students are actually driving the culture, no longer the faculty doing it. It is the seniors that look at the freshmen and say, if you're going to be in this program, this is the standard, get it together. We'll help you, but you got to get on board. It's really driven, interesting culture. So we asked our students, how would you describe our program? We did a word map. They said, give me 3 words to describe your program, right? And we word mapped this. Top word, what we're doing is really innovative. This is their words, right? Competent, family, multidisciplinary, challenging, entrepreneurial. Fun made the list. It really is a lot of fun. It really is a lot of, we have a great time after we figure out what the rules are, right? We have fun, boundless, inspiring, cultivating, right? Our students love our program. But it's not for everybody. Because if you want to sit in a class, get lectured at, do a test, the typical thing, you're going to die. Because we don't even have exams. We don't even lecture. None of our 8 courses are lecture-based. They're all studio-based. And all the faculty, we all believe in that. Because we don't care about what you teach as much about, are you teaching them to learn? Because even if I don't cover something, if I can make you learn it, you don't ever need me. Do you think I can teach my kids everything they'll ever need to know? No. But if I don't teach my kids how to find it and get it, then I have failed. So that drives us. So anyway, I want to share that with you. We just did this about a month ago. So this is how elite students, and I can guarantee this was actually not done by me. This was done by our independent firm. And so I was stunned, like, really? Because some words really surprised me, like fun. You know, I actually think this is fun. So my final thoughts is that really, I think my background in jumping around from institution at a place like Laterno and being involved with great people and the work I've done with LIMS and seeing what we can do on the market side and my own personal experience has really shaped who I am. And it's been fun to take that to a level, to a program that wants to do some things different. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. It's not perfect in any regard, but it's a work in progress, and we tell it to our students. Our students are partners with us in the educational process. We actually tell our students at the end of every class, tell me how we can make this class better. And boy, our students, they can dish it out, okay? Because they get it from us. But you know, in every class, we actually have TAs. And the TAs, except for the senior one, the TAs are the students that took it before, and they're the ones who really run the class, not me. Because every year we're improving. And every year ratings get higher and higher and higher. And to be honest with you, it is the students that actually demand things more than I do. Sometimes I have to tell students, you know, I don't know if I'd go that far. I had to do it, you know. They keep raising their own standard. So I have to kind of play the referee like, okay, I don't know if we should go that far. You know, but it's really cool. It's fun to be involved with students to design an educational process. So anyway, so thanks for those thoughts. Thanks for letting me be here. I want to make sure that we have 15 minutes for Q&A. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'll start.
Sure.
Why emphasize leadership rather than entrepreneurship?
Well, I would say that an entrepreneur who has leadership skills, right, will be more effective.
Sure. But
So-
I guess that's what I would say that
I didn't name the
leadership
program.
is a component of
Leadership, I think there's a component of that, but we're not training necessarily people to be entrepreneurs, but we're always training students to be leaders. I don't expect them to be entrepreneurs, but I do expect them to lead or follow. And I don't really care if they're doing leadership in the technological realm. They can lead by being a doctor, they can lead by leading their community group, they can lead by changing whatever. I really don't give a damn if it's in engineering. Yes?
So in terms of the faculty that are teaching the studio classes, were these all faculty who had been in the studio environment before? And
No, I handpicked them based on their approach and thoughts about education, and then we put them through training to learn to do it. So I care more about the heart than about their skill.
what kind of training did you do?
Olin College, everyone spends a year at Olin College.
That'll do it.
Yeah, they all went for a year of class, they all went to NSFI Corps. We invest in a lot of development. And so, so it's like, if people say, do you want a hard worker who is really smart? Do you want a hard worker who is not very smart? Or do you want a guy who's really smart but lazy? I'll take the hard worker any day. Intelligence is way overrated. Yes, sir.
So my question probably stems from your E-Lead Diamond, E-Leader Diamond.
Yeah,
Backpack.
sure.
So when you talk about the studio courses, and we've got engineering core and those,
Yeah, the engineering core we don't control. Those are not not all our courses are studio.
Where
Not
does
all our
studio-
courses are studio. Not all the courses they take are studio.
where do the studios fit in here?
The studio courses are the courses are not here. The courses are actually spread out between the center and the one on the left.
Can you describe that environment? Is it how often they're meeting, what kind of environment they have to work?
It varies. We have traditional meet 3 hours a week and stuff. And then there's some that, like Capstone Design, has a 12-hour contact time commitment a semester. 12 hours. Okay. And here's the reason we do that, is because we work on a commuter campus, and we have students that can live 50 miles apart, and they need time to spend together. And so I make them block out 12 hours a week to work together. They can't work together if they're spread out all over the country, all over the city, right? No one lives on campus. So it's just to give them time. Does it mean they need all 12 hours? Not necessarily, but at least they've blocked it out. So the environment itself is not this. It's really, it looks similar to the classrooms that are in the EDS, right? But it's much more flexible in the sense that there's boards everywhere. It's kind of chaotic looking, right? It doesn't have a classroom feel. Although you can make it a classroom, but I would say it looks more chaotic than it looks structured. And there's little post-it notes everywhere. If you've been at Olin, I think they took stock in 3M. So did we. So there's little post-it notes there. We had to get control of the post-it notes at some point because they got out of control. But yeah, we own 3M stock. Yes, sir.
Would you elaborate on year one self-identity and intrinsic motivation, and maybe can you give us some examples of how that works?
Okay. The typical student that we get comes in with a very high school mindset. Right. In high school, teacher walks up, lectures, tells me what to learn, right? I regurgitate it back. I can read it, maybe. But it's pretty much the onus is upon the teacher, right? And we know college isn't that way. But they come in with that mindset because they've been in that mindset for 12 years, right? The other thing is that they're very insecure. Even those who think they're the biggest bubble gum on the block, right, come in very insecure. And so part of the issue that we're trying to do is give them a sense that they have intrinsic value in who they are, and they really do have some things that they know that they don't give themselves credit for. And it's very difficult in the environment. Remember, a lot of our kids come from low-income homes, not great high school students, and you say, so what do I know how to do? And I say, well, you're bilingual. You've had to figure out how to fix your car to get to school. You weren't pampered growing up. I'm taking advantage of those skills to help them build their identity. Sure, it's not perfect, but I need to help build their identity, right, in intrinsically who they are, right? If there's anything I've realized as I've traveled the world, is that I am not any more valuable to the world because I have a PhD. And I don't have any more self-worth because of all those accolades. I am just as valuable as anybody on the planet of the Earth. Right? And that's what we really spend time working, because I think that's an important process in helping them identify their own intrinsic worth. And then we move to the issue that with that you can build the thing of you being self-motivated, because now you're working for yourself in the process. Does this sound like a counseling session? You could call it that. But part of the issue is they need to see that, right? They need to see that I'm not the sage on the stage. They need to see that I'm in here in the trenches with you. And that, I'm going to make mistakes, and I probably don't know things you know. So we work with that. We use some tools to do it, but for the most part, we build that through the environment of them working on projects. It's not easy, and how many times have you heard an engineering program say the first two things I want to do is intrinsic motivation and self-identity? I've never heard it.
That's the first time for me.
Yeah, and so I'm like, but I'm not ashamed about it, because I know enough now to realize I don't really care if the engineering academy agrees with me. I know what it can do. It can turn a life around. And I'm not here to satisfy the engineering academy. I'm here to turn lives around. I want to get the engineering academy to agree. But it's about, making a difference in life. So I think that's what's driving us. And all our faculty really believe that deeply, deeply, deeply believe that. It's part of the core of who we are as a faculty. And so when I got a chance to build a department from scratch, to me that was a fundamental question I was asking. Do you have, is your perspective and your philosophy in the right place? I don't really care about your skill sets. I can give you the skill sets. You know, where is your heart? Good question, though.
So following up on that, you've been at UTEP 6 years, building this program?
6 years.
6 years. Been successful, you're enjoying it?
Well, I mean, oh yeah, I'm enjoying it.
So if you-
And successful, I guess you have to determine what successful is. So.
Okay.
I mean, we're not perfect.
Right, we're not UTEP, so if you were to come to Mines, do you clone what you've done at UTEP?
No, I don't
Version
think so.
2, or what do you do here? What's the...
No, I think I mean, I don't think there's any formula that works the same at any institution, right? I think what you have to do in any institution is look at who are your students, right? What do they bring with them? What are the strengths and weaknesses they bring with them? What are the strengths and weaknesses of the own institution? What do you have to work with, and what can you build on? So, no, I don't think it's a clone thing. I mean, if there's anything I've learned about that group that do engineering leadership, is we've actually seen a disparity of models working effectively that aren't all the same. And the reason, so the MIT program, I know exactly what the MIT program does. You know, I know Joe Shingal, he runs it. And their program looks very different from ours. But it works really well with a MIT student, right? It works very well with them. And so if I went to MIT, I would say, boy, you guys are doing it just right. But it doesn't work with our student population. You know, they can throw some things at their students that I could never throw at ours. At least not early on. So I think it involves a very collaborative way of looking at the strengths and weaknesses of the student population and of the skill sets and of the time and of the culture altogether. You have to look at those things. And things don't happen overnight. I'm not saying, I haven't changed the culture of mechanical engineering, it's still what it is. But good question.
Can you go into sort of the scope of your program? That's how many students? How many...
We have just short of 180 students.
Okay.
Next year, if all things go well, we'll be at 240.
So really,
It's growing fast, yeah. And the biggest issue I'm having to answer to parents and stuff is, what is this engineering leadership? So we think our steady state number is between, we've low estimates are 250 to 300, high estimates are 350 to 400. At 400, we're going to cap.
and how big is UTEP?
Engineering, college of engineering, 6,000.
6,000.
The university is 25,000.
Right.
Yes.
When you're talking to potential students and parents, we had a similar conversation about this today for the PSE. How do you differentiate and help identify what the BSEL is as compared to all the traditional engineering majors that you have?
Yeah.
How do you stand apart?
Yeah. We're multidisciplinary, right, is one distinctive. The other one is that we really are intentional, highly intentional at building leadership capacity, entrepreneurship, and business acumen. None of the other ones are. And so if you want a traditional engineering degree because you want to be in a traditional, somewhat traditional engineering job, then maybe ME is good for you. We're not for everybody. We're very open about we're not for everybody. If you want to push the boundaries of your own skill sets and look at things outside of engineering from a different perspective, because you're considering business or starting a business, because you're considering going to graduate school in business or in medicine or in law, or you're thinking about possibly developing innovative products or looking at being an entrepreneur, we're going to be a better tool set for you than mechanical engineering will be, or electrical engineering, or civil engineering. But if you want to build bridges for the city of El Paso, then you probably should go to do civil engineering. So we're not for everybody. And I think that's okay for us to say. You know, mechanical engineering isn't for everybody, civil isn't, and we're not for everybody either. I would like to believe that leadership development and building capacity and character is necessary for everybody, but they're just at different places in their educational growth, whatever that looks like. I'm not in charge of those departments. And changing the culture is huge. So that's the way I would talk to a parent. So, I mean, remember, we have parents that say, I want my kid, I'm spending money to send my kid to college. I want them to get a job. And I said, if that is your overwhelming concern, that you are so scared that they get a job, then maybe you should do mechanical engineering. But if you want your child to be at a place where we push him in different directions to help build his self-confidence, because at the end of the day, he has to sell himself. The degree's not going to sell you. Then maybe we're a better fit. Because I'm not going to guarantee him a job. So it's up to you what risk level you're willing to take. And we're very honest about that. I mean, there was no guarantees when I started LIMS. I mean, there's no guarantees, you know. I'll tell you, I got a job at General Electric because I was a mechanical engineer, and I'll tell you, they basically told us, day one, everything you just learned in college is absolutely worthless. We're going to start from scratch. They didn't say worthless, but you know, you can just forget everything. We're going to start from scratch. So, yeah, I mean, it's a risk. I agree. And I think it's okay. Because you know what? Guess who's in your program? Risk takers. Guess who's in your program? People who want to be pushed. So why hide it? You know, the Marines how do the Marines sell themselves? The few, the proud, the Marines. When you want a job done in certain situations, you put Marines on the ground. You don't put the Air Force. The Air Force shows up and drops them off. It's okay. We need some of that. All right, I've been pretty bold. It's okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.